I'm Harvey Couch. That's Jeff Kolath. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. We had a pretty good run there of every week until, you know, this week. We were doing
Oh,
every Monday we did 2 weeks in a row. You call that a streak, you know? Or maybe it was three. It was three because we
three,
did the
3 weeks in
we
a
did the
row.
spring '95 preview and then the draft and then we did Bob.
Yeah,
So
I,
three. That's good.
but
I like.
4 in 4 weeks is pretty strong.
So we're going live here on Thursday night. I'll probably not post this until Monday or Tuesday, just to kind of keep the routine. I'm going on a work trip early next week. I'll be in the ATL. No music. Although I think Billy Strings is there Friday, Saturday, but I won't be getting there Sunday. So maybe I'll see like all the heads leaving in the
Mm.
in the Hartsfield Latoya Jackson, international.
Carrying their guitars with broken strings trailing behind them.
Right. So,
Dogs in patchwork harnesses looking sad.
so we'll see. I'll take pictures if I get any, but I'll be in Atlanta for a few days this week, and then come home, get back here for a day or two, and then it's on the road next weekend. We're heading down to New Orleans. We're gonna do Mardi Gras with the
Oh, okay.
fam. This will
Nice.
be the boys' first Mardi Gras experience.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Have you ever experienced Mardi Gras before, Jeff?
Have not.
Okay.
No. Um, since my wife went to school there, I think she would like to go back, but I also, even though she hasn't been there in nigh on 30 years, I
Hmm.
think it's sort of, I don't really, doesn't seem to be a huge appetite for it, but it'd be fun to take the kids for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's where I think I was like, they'll start getting older to where they don't want to hang out with us anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm still in the window where like it'll be a fun family activity and we can go, chase beads and
Sure.
doubloons and cups.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Nice. Is
And
that your spring break?
no, we're just doing it. They've got a Monday. They have a work in service day on Monday, so they're missing. We'll take off Thursday afternoon, so they'll miss school Friday, and then Monday's like a holiday for the drive back. So we actually won't be there for Fat Tuesday. We're just going for the weekend before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But all that to say, no live Blues tape. The next couple Mondays. So
Unless I figure out the
hey,
technology and
that
just
would
decide to
be
show up randomly.
That would be amazing. People are
Yeah.
here for it, I think. Maybe that's
I
what we need to get you to, break out of your cocoon and
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
spread your
Yeah.
wings.
It's such a hard time talking about
Uh,
stuff.
yeah. So, um, what's new with you? Everything good?
Well, we had Widespread Panic concerts, Harvey.
I know for the first time since I saw them at Red Rocks last June. It was
Um,
exciting.
how much of the three shows did you listen to? And be honest.
Do I? Because I was going to say, do I have to be honest? But you actually asked me before I said it. I think I tuned in every night.
Me too.
Um, I mean, in total, I think probably less than an hour across the 3 nights. Just because we
This is
had
the
stuff
kind of
going.
passion for Widespread Panic that a Widespread Panic podcast can bring.
Well, I mean, I think it was more just outside influences. I think there was a big Kentucky game on Saturday night that I was focused on. I did tune in a couple times to see what the Goose was doing. And I don't know. I listened to probably more Panic than Goose. I will say I did listen to more Panic than Goose. But I checked in on that, and yeah, it's hard sometimes. You got kids, and everybody's watching TV, and it's hard to just say, you know what, I'm gonna listen to Panic here for an hour. But as a true
Well,
fan, Jeff, how much did you listen to?
I think about the same.
Oh, you're gonna give me grief, and you literally listened to the same amount.
But I think I went back. Went back and listened to some today and yesterday. I think I did.
Yeah, no, I did.
Um,
That's true. I've listened to some more since.
I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be
Hot
completely.
takes?
I'm gonna be honest with everybody.
Ooh,
So, we called disco opener. It was the Eight Life Grand opener,
I like
which
that. I like the Ain't Life Grand
is
Opener.
nice.
Huh?
Um, and I got a text from a friend that said that was the opener. My friend Jay and his sister was at the show. Were at the show. Was at the shows, and I was like, oh, I'll tune it in because it was sitting on the couch or whatever. Something was on, and Please was the second song on the first night on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I remembered how much I hate Please with Jimmy playing on it because it is one of the handful of songs that doesn't sound, we've talked about this so many times, doesn't sound the way I think it should. But like he did this intentionally dirty sound on his guitar that was just like
cringy.
I think I literally I winced and click turned it off. And then pop back in occasionally. The set list the first night didn't do a ton for me. There are just certain songs that the band I don't think they need to play. Especially from the back catalog, I would put Traveling Man in that category. The Waker was nice. Junior Genesis Bowlegged to close out the set, or Love Tractor to close out the second set was pretty good. It was interesting that they had special guests all weekend, that they had Jason Crosby on fiddle, which added some nice stuff to the mix. But even more interesting to me that John Keane was there, because I still have sort of this John Keane shows up when you think you're going to need somebody to play guitar. I think. Because think about the times when he showed up in the last, 15 years. It was during during transitions, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, more like I'd say in the last 22 years,
20,
but it's sort of the end of Mike and then sort of the end of George, right?
Yes, but it is funny how he's just sort of was like, John Keane's playing?
Yeah.
I mean, cool, but it was also very much like if we brought in the guy that can play the stuff. We know he can play the stuff in case the other guy needs to sit down or something.
Well,
That was just sort of my
sort of
initial vibe. I don't think that was correct, but that's when I saw he was there. It was kind of that's strange.
Yeah, no, I had the exact same thought, and maybe it was more like kind of security blanket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got him there, safety valve. You don't necessarily think you need him, and even if you don't need him, you got him there to kind of do a little bit of fill-in. He can play the pedal steel. Yep. I mean, he's nice to have, right? It'll be interesting to see if.
Was great.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see if you see Keane again, if he's on the next run or not. But no, Crosby's fantastic, and I guess he's played with him before a few times.
Yeah.
Do you know? Was he in a band for a while? Do you know his story? He doesn't have a Wikipedia entry, so I have nothing.
Yeah. Should I live Wikipedia?
No, don't do that. No, he's not in Wikipedia, and that threw me off. I was like, he doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. He's got a website that talks about him. He's got, I think Dave produced his last record. Full Circle, he, I think, brought the band, the Mother Hips band, in to back one of his records. So sort of Full Circle on the Bob Beatty Mother Hips train. But no, it's not. I mean, I think Panic's music sounds great with the fiddle. I'd love to see David Blackman out there sometime, but maybe that's just never going to happen, and we'll take Jason Crosby if that's our only option for some fiddle.
Second night was the one I probably listened to the least of, and I think because I just got mad at the set list. Trashy, honky red, Halloween face to end the first set. That's just not.
You don't like that? I mean, they're all new-ish, right? But they're also kind of, I think those are among the better of the newer generation tunes.
It's not my thing.
The distortion is too much. You like a cleaner sound. That's
little
why
too
you're getting into Dreamy Rick and Goose. You like that nice, clean
Yep,
sound.
I do. That's two Goose references so far.
Early, getting
Um,
in hot.
but second set was my thing with the
Mm,
Mercy Willie Degenerate Blight. I love the Heroes cover that
yeah.
they do. That's always nice. And then again, a song that I wasn't super excited about, but have kind of grown on me. I'm so glad. Closer, the first of
Hmm.
the second, kind of like that. Um, that's just our alarm going off.
Is your food ready? No, it's good.
No. um, Last week, uh, the the norovirus swept through our house. I basically finished our show, and then like an hour and a half later, came down with stomach flu, and
Mm.
was sick for like 2 days, and then Ellison got sick, and then Jen didn't get it, and then Presley got it, but got it like 3 days later when we thought we were in the clear.
Ah,
But
that's the worst. It always happens right at the very end.
but Wednesday night, the it was raining out and the dog wouldn't go outside, so she like peed on the floor. I still felt bad. Ellison threw up in his bed, and then in the middle of it all, like the fire alarm that's attached to our security system went off.
Mm.
So the fire department showed up.
Oh, sweet. You're like, will you just take the dog and the children, please?
Literally, and then so he's like, everything seems to be okay, and we're like, yeah, everything's fine. And then
Nothing's okay here.
And then there's this young firefighter who's listening to us tell the older guy like what's going on, and he's like, "Yeah, I understand." The young guy's just like, "Oh, by the way, your doorbell's not on either." Shut
Thanks,
up.
buddy.
Did you bring your screwdriver? Do you want to help me take the battery out?
Sure. I had this conversation with a coworker, and we had the exact same configuration in our family, in that one of the children is like, will get up and take care of business in the toilet, like no matter what, like out of a deep sleep and get up and take care of it, and the other one will just do it wherever, whenever, and is finding sleep in it. I think maybe just
Oh,
hoping that they can wish it away. When they wake up, it'll all be gone. Do you have a similar situation, or do they both?
no, they both have a very hard time understanding like the feeling, even though the older
Mm,
one is 12. Like
yeah.
he his excuse was, well, because he worked out, went to the gym, and then he came home and he was like, I just thought I did too many sit-ups and that made my stomach hurt. And it's just like, buddy, you are too old to not understand how this works.
Mm,
So yes, it was a lot of it was a
I'll
lot
clean
of
up.
cleanup, a lot of loads of laundry this
Yeah,
week.
I
Um,
feel you.
Third night, long shows each night, close to 3 hours, right around 3 hours for all 3 nights. Little Kim, Little Lily, Wondering opener on the third night. That's pretty good. And
Yeah.
then Papa's, You Got Yours, Papa's, which not something they ever did way back when, but You Got Yours has showed up in some sandwiches quite a bit since they brought it back into the fold. The Pieces with Jason Cosby was really good.
Hmm.
And then driving takeout porch driving, which I don't think that's ever happened before either. So
Okay. Yeah, I was
that was
wondering.
pretty
I mean,
great.
I thought that was really nice.
It was really
I think this
uh,
was my favorite show that
yeah.
the pieces that I heard. Um, I, d- I don't know if and you tell me, Four Cornered Room, great song, love the song, but I don't know if it's just that I hold that Halloween '97 as like, this is how Four Cornered Room should be played, and anytime it doesn't sound exactly like that, I'm like, this is garbage. And of course, none of the others sound like it. You know what I mean? So it's not fair to be like, um,
I will admit that yes, it's one of my favorites.
mhm.
It's definitely best experienced in person. It sort of
Oh, for sure.
loses its zazz
Mm,
on tape or streaming or
yeah.
whatever. It's still great, but it's just not the same. Um, there's something about those late '90s Four Corners in an enclosed space where like the sound just sort of surrounded you, like
Mm-hmm.
how it was mixed and JB doing his vocal histrionics and the stuff on the and dissonance on the guitar. Just there was something about it that was great. So yeah, I agree with you. It's still good, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's not, and it's no criticism of the current group. It's just
No.
it's not the same.
Yeah.
Um,
So and then the classic Machine Gun Chili Water closer.
yeah, the classic.
And then I think a pretty nice encore, Dear Prudence, end of the show.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure about Dear Prudence is. I mean, it's fine. It's good. It's fine.
I'm gonna go turn off my alarm.
That would be super. You're gonna do let's do that because we're enjoying it. It's been fun. So those are the 3 nights at the Hard Rock Live at E-Test Arena in Atlantic City, and they've got the first 3 under their belts, and on to the rest of the tour, as they say. Next up is where do we go next, Jeff? You have this memorized. It's St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, yeah.
They always have a good throwdown there in St. Augustine.
Yeah,
so,
sold out already. So that'll be good shows. They've got their venues that they seem to draw well at, and obviously I think St. Augustine's one of them. In the jam band world, I think one of the big news bits to drop this week was Phish summer tour, but no Phish Dicks this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to Folsom Field in Boulder, so that's kind of big news. It feels like.
Okay. Should we talk about the other Phish news, or do you want to still do?
That was sort of a segue.
Yeah. They announced are they candidates? Is that what they're nominees? Nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the 2025 class. And the Phish Band, the 4 guys from Vermont, on the list.
It's a really, I don't know if I'm just saying this because there's bands on here that I like, but it's a pretty, I think class. It's a pretty strong class. They kind of cleared the decks of some of the classic rock stalwarts that appeal to the old white guys that vote for this, that are on the nominating committee. We got Foreigner last year. I guess Bad Company is sort of one of the last ones standing. But and who knew? Bad Company and the Black Crowes, both bands that Rich Robinson has played guitar in, nominated. Mariah Carey, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, Joy Division / New Order, Cyndi Lauper, Mana, who I did not know but have been told they're a big deal in Latin America, Oasis, Outkast, The Fish, Soundgarden, and the White Stripes. So who last year they put in 8 in the performer category.
Okay. How many is that list that you just read?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14.
Okay.
I don't know.
Probably half of it, half-ish, maybe.
Yeah, to me, there's some obvious ones. Outkast is a gimme. Yeah. Chubby Checker.
Billy Idol, right?
Billy Idol. I would go. I was gonna. No? I would put Outkast, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, and probably Mariah Carey as like my gimmies. I think White Stripes probably has a good chance. The Black Crowes probably have a pretty good claim for it, just as in terms of the success that they've had and I guess some of the longevity, but it just seems odd.
That one stuck out to me, like, as I guess because I just always sort of thought of them in the same kind of class as Panic. Do you know what I mean? And sort of see them on that list, but I guess obviously they've sold way more records. And,
well, they were they were a massive MTV band.
Yeah.
You know, like for the first two records, and you know, if you believe everything that's in, or most everything that's in Steve Gorman's book, did a hell of a job of intentionally destroying their success for the sake of Chris wanting to hang out with the hippies. So it's an interesting group. There's a lot of, you know, worthy candidates. Apparently this Mana thing is some, again, I don't know anything about them, but apparently that's a big deal. So we'll see. And then again, they always have these bands that the performers and groups, they can stick in under musical excellence and then also musical influence. So I don't think any of these bands are probably there yet, but there are certainly, I mean, Chubby Checker and Joe Cocker are like two that probably should have been in a long time ago.
Yeah. Does Fish have a chance, do we think? Or
I don't know.
is it a situation where if you don't make it in the first year, like do you come back, or
yeah,
does it
you can, you can come back. It's just I don't know how many, I forget how many times chances you get, but I know there's, you know, been bands that have been nominated multiple times. So and again, it's just, you know, everybody says, well, that's not rock and roll. Why is that band get nominated for it? It's just, no, we're not having that discussion or that argument because they've put in a lot of performers really throughout the history of the organization, the history of the entity, that wouldn't precisely be considered rock and roll, but it's pretty big tent over there in Cleveland.
Yeah. So like a meta question here is that did you turn off your camera, or did it just turn it off because your internet was so slow?
I don't know. Did it turn off my camera?
Your camera's not there.
Really? Oh, it does
really.
say putting only audio.
Audio only. Because I miss looking at you. There you are.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, no, it's fine. I just didn't know if it was because you're a little blurry. I didn't know if maybe it was like, yeah, let's turn off the video. But you know,
no.
The people want to see you, Jeff, in your Memphis State hat.
Yeah, that's right. Got to support them. They had a tough overtime loss to Wichita State the other day.
I think this is going to be. I hope that this will be a very entertaining March Madness, because I don't know that there's any really, really dominant teams, and I think there's a lot of really good teams, you know, and so I think it could be fun. Yeah,
I think it'll be. It seems pretty. There's no inevitability, I guess. You know, the talking heads are fawning over Auburn right now, and have been for a long time, and they got a lot of dudes that can play. I mean, but they were spawning over Alabama, and they got run last night by Missouri. So.
Yeah.
Dennis Gates, Coach of the Year, 0-18 to tournament bound.
That's I mean, Mark Pope's got a case too, but Gates is.
So does Wisconsin coach Greg Gard. The dudes can play. Wisconsin's scoring or averaging over 80 points a game.
Holy moly, that's crazy. Has that ever happened before?
It's the most points since like 1971.
So Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that'll be exciting to watch how that shakes out. You know, when do they?
But no, to go on the record, I don't think Fish will make it.
Okay.
But
why?
If they
did, I mean, what
if,
is the? Are there? I mean, they haven't defined. I mean, it's sort of like the Baseball Hall of Fame, where it's kind of like whatever the voter thinks, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can make an argument certainly that they have defined an entire genre of music for the last 30 years. They are certainly unique in their own way. Yes, you can lump them in with the originators of the jam band, the Grateful Dead, but they are different in many ways. Did you mute yourself?
Today, maybe I did.
Now you're back.
See, this is part of the problem. You know, it's just too much work. It's like you gotta, keep the camera on. You gotta not mute the microphone. I'm sorry, guys.
That's right. But anyway, I do think, should they make it, I think it will be deserved. I just don't think that they will. It's sort of interesting for them to come up the year after Dave Matthews makes it. So,
Mm,
we've got the first Horde alumni
hmm.
uh, making the show, so to speak. Two more on it this year with the Crows and Fish. Probably another one or two down the road. I guess it's 25 years since your first commercial recording, so I would assume that Wilco Band will probably be nominated at some point here in the next year or two.
Is that the rule? 25 years. It's your
Yeah.
first.
So, and
Um,
their first record's 30 years old this year, I think. So
did speaking of like bands from the 90s, did you happen to see the Bourbon and Beyond lineup?
I did,
That's
yeah,
and not even just I mean the top level, above the fold folks. I mean Fish is basically the headliner.
yeah.
Noah Kahan,
Mhm.
Sturgill Simpson, Lumineers, and Jack White. But like if you get down like five lines down,
Mhm.
I mean, besides the aforementioned Foreigner and Ringo Starr and Pat Benatar, you get down to like, I mean, just a cavalcade of '90s alt hits:
Uh-huh.
Collective Soul, Blues Traveler, Guster,
Oh,
um, Spin Doctors, Gin Blossoms. Um, I'm sure I'm missing more. Oh, Blind Melon is this thing. 10,000 Maniacs, Squirrel Nut Zippers, Mark Cohn, Memphis, the famous Memphis
famous
song.
Memphis musician, yeah.
Yeah. The Ocean Blue. Um, yeah. Just, I mean, Marcy Playground.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
NRBQ is there. There's no, not really 90s,
I mean,
but
it really sounds like they booked Summerfest in Louisville.
98, 96, 98.
Pretty amazing.
So yeah, no, it's something else. I mean, I mean, the Goo Goo Dolls, they're '90s act too.
I was gonna
Third Eye
say,
Blind. I mean, it's
I was gonna
like,
ask if the Goo Goo Dolls are on there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So four
those
days.
tours, those package tours of like '90s bands that
Mm-hmm.
those. I mean, they do well. They play in big
Mm-hmm.
places and sell a lot of tickets. So.
Yeah.
Um, so what the other big news for this last week is going to be the demolition of Oak Mountain outside.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so they're going to finish out their season down in
Okay.
Pelham, and
See,
a
that's what I
lot of
wasn't sure about if they had been. If I mean, they're still booking
yes,
shows
so
there?
they have
Okay.
full season booked, and then after the last show this fall, Live Nation is actually owns it, and they're actually going to pay for the demolition apparently.
Huh.
And then it's going to be redeveloped. And it's one of those things where you read about these things being torn down. It's sort of like racetracks getting torn down, and what are they going to put there? Great, you're going to put mixed use retail residential. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, but they're actually going to make it part of the city of Pelham's arts and culture district, and sort
Okay.
of develop and reprogram it to bring in more businesses, more local small businesses, restaurants, and performance venues. They're going to have another outdoor concert space. It looks like so. It is sort of I think obviously it's a loss just for in terms of a place that a lot of people have warm and fuzzy memories of really awesome shows. But
Yeah.
when you think about it, it's this this is the type of redevelopment that I can support.
Um, so it kind of reminds me, maybe they're doing it the way that they didn't do the Polaris Amphitheater in Columbus. I don't know if you remember. That's in fact the the place, the venue that I first saw members of the Grateful Dead perform in the
Okay,
summer of
for
'98 as the other ones.
oh, okay, yeah.
That was the Columbus Shed, just north of
Mhm,
Columbus, and it was actually pretty nice because it's kind of out in the country,
mhm.
and it is now mixed use but like suburban sprawl, mixed use,
Yeah.
like malls and
There's
restaurants
a
and
big when you drive on it.
Costco's.
That's the way we go to Akron, and so there's a big like bridge across the interstate that
Hmm.
says Polaris, and so yeah, I didn't realize that it had been gone as long as it had been, but yeah, they
Yeah,
hosted a lot of shows there. Allman
yeah,
Brothers played a bunch.
yeah. No, they had a great run there. I bet. What did Panic play there? I bet they did.
Mm, Everyday Companion. Tell us.
Yeah, I'll look it up. So, so who's on the docket for Oak Mountain this summer? You got Dirks Bentley. He's playing down there in August.
It's a good song.
Toto with Christopher Cross and Men at Work. That's July 21st. Kids Bop Live. Luke Bryan,
Ooh,
July
I think
19th.
think there's some Def Leppard on there.
Sticks is on there.
Did not play at Polaris.
Okay. Um, oh, hey, Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Is this right? Wow. No, but this
Yep.
says June 25, 2020. Oh, it is 2025. Oh my God.
Don't
Lord
worry.
help me.
I have that problem all the time.
Jason Isbell was playing the Alabama Shakes. Rod Stewart. That's a pretty good run, and I guess we're going to close it down with Jason Aldean. So, oh well.
Jason Isbell's playing there.
Jason Isbell. Yeah, the Coca-Cola Amphitheater, I guess is what they call it,
Yep.
right? Um,
I find it terribly ironic given the number of Panic shows that have taken place there, a number of awesome Panic shows that took place there between 1990 and 2013, that the only time I've been there was to see the Fish.
mm,
So not having been there, I just can judge the Panic runs. You talked about a draft of the runs. I think that there are three that stand out for me. And if we're repeating ourselves, I doubt people that are listening went all the way back to our episodes. But the September '99 run
sure.
was particularly strong, and that one will always have a special place because I think I put the Surprise Valley from that run on a mixtape I made for my Aunt Lori, which she then gave back to me and said, "This is doper music," which always makes me laugh.
Well, factually correct.
Really quick. The July 2001 run, which obviously the band thought so highly of, they released all three shows.
Yep.
So I mean, just really three of the best shows, probably three best shows of that year.
Yeah, I would agree.
Lists, the Last Dance, Harder They Come, the first night, Ride Me High Dream Song Encore, second night is when you get the Astronomy Domine, Watchtower, Fishwater, Post Drums, Postcard Ophelia, Coconut, LA, Impossible, Mercy, Worry to open the second night. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah. They opened those sets, or those shows are all very strong openers.
And then
And
the
then
last bow-legged opener, Split Pilgrims, Pilgrims Diner, Pilgrims Drums Stirred Up, and then Wind Cries Marriott in the encore. Just that's for playing with intention, as we like to talk about.
And plenty of other good ones even before 98. Even the single shows in 96 and 97 were really good. And you can't, leave off the 2002 run that, was very special in its own right as they closed out spring '02. So, lots of memories in that place. And, I guess they've got the venue in Huntsville is probably now getting a lot of those types of shows. They've got the venue in Orange Beach, kind of south of there. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer for the folks in Pelham, but maybe it'll end up being something really cool in spite of the loss.
So yeah.
Okay.
What else? It's only been 34 minutes. We got another hour and a half to kill. So what else?
No, we don't have to kill an hour and a half. It's really keep it tight.
So we likely won't be around for the next couple of weeks, but maybe I'll get
Squirrely.
and show up and talk about nothing for a while. But thanks to our Bob Beatty for coming on last week. We had a good chat with him about his work with the Allman Brothers and the Phil Maurice record, and thanks to those that have given us some feedback about that. So that was good. And Harvey's lined up for us for the future too, so it's exciting.
Yeah, we got some guests coming up. I listened to Live at Phil Maurice for the first time in several years after that episode. After I got done editing, and I was like, you know what? I need to throw on Phil Maurice because I hadn't heard that in a while. It's a pretty strong record.
Pretty good. You don't listen to it every week like I do?
No, I don't. It's just that is. I enjoy the Allman Brothers, and my wife actually enjoys them more than I do, I think. And so she would play them a lot, and I just get a little burnout, and it's kind of just gets to the point where I can't listen to it like focus. It's just sort of noise. And so when I do get an opportunity to kind of listen with intention and like actually hear it, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are really good. And it's not just, songs and solos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the points that Bob and I have talked about for years, and I think he does a good job making this point, is that, they were so inspired by, Dickie with, country and folk music or bluegrass background. He and Barry both played in the band The Second Coming, so had a strong, they were essentially a psychedelic band, a hard rock band. J-Mo comes with his soul and R&B experience and jazz experience, but Butch Trucks comes from 31st of February, so a folk and rock band experience. And then you got Dwayne and Greg, and who've been doing a little bit of everything, especially Dwayne with the session work. But like they all were equally inspired by jazz in different ways and in different musicians. Dickie's so much inspired by Django Reinhardt in terms of, so you especially hear that in his later stuff. But like to me, those one of the things that again Bob talks about and that Phil Maurice really shows is these longer versions of these songs. It's not unlike jazz musicians at all, where they say, Coltrane will play my favorite things, and he plays the theme, and then he goes off in a direction for 25 minutes, and then he plays the theme at the end of it, and then you're done. Those songs, especially the two longer ones, the You Don't Love Me and the Whipping Post, just become movements in so many ways. And it's just, and again, it's like viewed simply, you can just say, God, I don't want to hear somebody take a solo for 5 minutes. But I understand that. But what's really cool about it is that, yes, Dwayne was the unquestioned leader of that band, but also really democratic in how much he gave the other musicians a chance to sign, especially Dickie on the Coast, especially. And Liz Reed, obviously, because Dickie wrote it. But it's like the way those dudes play and just go off in these directions, like it's the improvisation's just off the charts. And it takes a pretty talented group of people, but a pretty special group of people to be like, yeah, you go do that. We'll be back when you're ready.
I'll meet you at the corner, right?
Exactly. It's such cool stuff.
Yeah. Nice. Do you have any? Do we do some recommendations this week?
Yeah, I got one. I've had this record for a little while, but it's one that I've played quite a bit lately. And it's the Parlor Greens, released by our friends on Coal Mine out of Loveland, Ohio, on the north side of Cincinnati. And so Parlor Greens is a soul jazz organ trio. Tim Carmen plays drums. This guy named Adam Scone, who's an incredible Hammond B3 player, organ, and then Jimmy James, who did play guitar in Delvon and Lamar organ trio, and now is in this group. Sensational record. It's so good. They're touring, I think right now or this year. And we saw Delvon Lamar. They came to Memphis last year, and it was a good show, but it certainly has lost some of its oomph without Jimmy playing guitar with them right now. And so this is a great record. It's there's a lot of different sounds, a lot of influences that are pretty clear, but it's really tight, strong instrumental record. So it's called In Green / We Dream, the Parlor Greens.
I feel like you had a recommendation with Delvin Lamar, you know,
I did.
in a
I'm sure
previous
I did.
episode. Uh,
The drummer for Delvon Lamar is this kid named Sam Groveman. If you are a drummer or appreciate ridiculous drummers, he's a really good follow on Instagram. He's a drum teacher in Atlanta, and then he does like these solo Instagram videos where basically he replicates sounds from hip hop and R&B songs from the 80s all the way up through, basically just using his drum kit. And it's like he's freakish, like he's
that's
freakishly
awesome.
talented and super fun to watch. So
I don't know what made me pop into my head. I don't know if you said something about a session musician when you were talking, but I had a work dinner last night, and one of the guys that was there, I mean, this is like, vendors that we deal with, and one of the guys that was there, and they all work remote. So the one guy's from South Carolina and the one guy's from Indiana, and then this guy was from Alabama, and it was like, well, I mean, I know the South, where in Alabama, and he's like North Alabama. I'm like, so like, are you close to Muscle Shoals? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm like sort of between Florence and Muscle Shoals. I'm like, so you know all about the Muscle Shoals sound? And he's like he's probably my age-ish, probably a little older, so maybe in his early 50s. And he's like, yeah, I was showing my wife this picture from 10 or 15 years ago of like us with a bunch of guys, and most of the other guys they're all dead now. He's like, but it was like, and I didn't recognize all of the names, but Jimmy Johnson was one of them,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
then there was somebody else, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I know they're in a lot of ways they're like characters in Drive By Trucker songs to me, but
Yeah,
um,
right.
but it was just cool. It was like, you don't always run across folks that know all that stuff. You know what I
Yeah, that's
mean?
cool.
And so,
And those guys are still around. You can still go see. They still play some. The only one that's left from the old days is Patterson's dad.
mm,
But some of the younger guys of that generation and the second or third generation of Muscle Shoals guys still play at the Marriott
mm,
in Florence, I think, and I
yeah,
think Isabel played there last month, I think.
right, yeah, like you did.
So
Um, so that was a little sidebar. My recommendation, and it was came out of the blue because we were talking about it before the show. Is I want to recommend and maybe I don't think I did this before. It's a podcast. Um, it's called Guess the Year. It combines two of my favorite things, which is Grateful Dead music and trivia.
mhm.
And so how it works is the host brings on, I think, usually three guests, and he will play them a clip of a Grateful Dead live track, like a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, and then they have to guess the year. And
Oh, cool.
whoever's usually, it's like, I think whoever's furthest away like gets eliminated. Maybe it's more than three people, and so they kind of go until they get to the end, and then they do like a best of three or something. um, but it's really neat to hear people like really get into, do you know what I mean, when you do it like over and over again. It's not just, it's like, oh, that's 68 and then that's 91 or whatever. It's like you play a clip of a song and you're like, I know it's Brent era, but like, how do I know between 80 and 89? You know what I mean? And then um, it's cool to hear people talk about the different like sounds that Jerry was making, and and different their voices, and
Mhm.
so anyway, it's a really cool podcast. It's called Guess the Year, and we did. I think when Sam Holt was on here, I made him guess the year of some Panic shows the last time he came on, and that was kind of fun. So
Nice.
yeah. So anyway, check that out. He's done a ton of episodes, and he's got a pretty cool video, like social media presence, where he'll talk to people like outside, dead related shows,
Mhm.
concerts, and like play them clips live and get people to react.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's what I got.
Nice. Well, my last question for you before we close up shop is,
Yeah.
how will you remember Senator Mitch McConnell
Hmm.
on
Well,
the day that he tells us he's retiring from the United States Senate after
he
7.
is. Um, yeah, and he's going to be like a resistance hero for the next 2 years, assuming he makes it. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. There was a really good. I can't remember if it was a podcast series that was like. I can't remember if it was like a New York Times or an NPR or like a Atlantic or a Slate, maybe like a Slate News series where I think this like lady kind of like really reported on McConnell's career and how he kind of came up and what he accomplished or managed to not accomplish through Obama's presidency and I think the end like he sits down and talks to her because I mean he's generally has been unabashed in talking about the things that he's done. You know what I mean? Whether you think that they're right or not. And so I guess I'll give him credit for being unafraid to defend his decisions. You know what I mean? He's not like some of these folks who will do things and then hide or lie or obfuscate or, whatever. He'll just be like, yeah, no, I mean, I did that because I could and I thought it was what we should do. So I'll at least give him credit for that. I think he probably caused more bad than good in general, over the course of his career. But what was interesting was, like as he came up, he was, I think, a pretty centrist kind of guy. He was like across the aisles, and then I think he saw opportunity for power in the I don't know whenever he kind of really got into leadership in the early '90s, and then that became the goal. It was no longer working across the aisle. It was about consolidating and holding on power, which he did very well for a long time. And, I think he brought a good amount of, money to the state. So I guess I can recognize that. Him and who's the congressman from Hal Rogers?
Yeah.
Uh, they still call there's a flight from Lexington on I think it's on Delta that leaves every weekday at like 6 a.m. to go to DCA to Reagan and then flies back at like 10:30 p.m. And they call that the Hal Rogers special. Out in the morning and back at night. So
Yeah. He's so the appropriations cardinal of the
yeah,
House.
for sure.
Right.
So
Well,
that's all I
that
got.
was a loving tribute, Harvey. I really.
I mean,
Thank
that's as good as I could do.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
All right. Well, Jeff, this was fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Sure.
I guess I won't see you for a couple weeks, but I'll give you the keys to the car if you want to
Yeah.
hop on at some point and talk
I'll
to the
take care
people.
of her. I'll drive her around the block a couple times and make sure that she stays loose.
Um, we watched Karate Kid tonight, the original Karate Kid.
Yeah. As a family.
Yeah, great movie. Love that movie, and you so good. I mean, tears every time at the end.
Do your kids? Can they stay with movies from days of yore?
I mean, this one was surprised. I was surprised because we had probably tried to watch that a couple times, and at the beginning, they were just like, "No, stop. I'm not watching this." Just because it's they're
Too much
often kind of yeah, they're slow and set up, and but now they're starting to get old enough to where they can kind of work through that, and then once they kind of get into the story, they're like, okay. So it took a while, but it's gonna just be brute force. They're gonna see all the classics before
Yes.
before I'm done. So
All right. Well,
okay. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll be stay in touch, and we'll be back on soon. Talk about more fun stuff here on the Blues Tape. See you, Jeff.